well, teach me to eat freaking licorice before I film. Hey kittens, it's Megan, and today I am doing my reading wrap-up for the month of June. I read a lot this month. I read a total of 17 books and over 5,600 pages. I honestly don't know how I did it, but I'm really excited to share what I read with you guys, so let's just jump in. First up was Be Not Far From Me by Mindy McGinnis, and this one is a survival story about a girl who goes into the Appalachian Trail for a night of partying with her friends and her boyfriend, and then she catches her boyfriend cheating on her, so drunk and upset, she runs off into the woods and gets lost. Bad idea on the Appalachian Trail. And so the rest of the book is her coming to terms with what she has to do to survive to get back home. And I really enjoyed this one. It was a random pick from my library, so I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars, and I do recommend it. Next up, we have The Final Six and The Life Below by Alexandra Monier, and I read these ones back to back. They were very enjoyable, but at the same time, riddled with cliches. I really wanted to love this series. I love sci-fi, and the story is about the world that has gone to hell in a handbasket, and Mother Nature is kicking our butts, sending, tsunamis, earthquakes, floods, fire, anything you can think of, it's doing. And so as a last-ditch chance to save humanity, the governments of the world band together to choose 6 teenagers from various countries to send to one of Jupiter's moons to terraform it to make way for the rest of humanity. And the series was pretty good, ended on a cliffhanger in the second book, but that's not surprising considering there is going to be a third. I don't know anything about the third one yet, but I'm going to finish the series. I did give the first one 4 out of 5 stars and the second one 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, we have Agnes at the End of the World by Kelly McWilliams, and this one I wanted to love. It was one of my most anticipated reads throughout the year, but I didn't love as much as I could have. Agnes at the End of the World is the story of Agnes, who lives in this small village ruled by the patriarchy, and there's rampant abuse, neglect, sexism, all of this happening in this little village. And when Agnes leaves, she comes to realize that she was growing up in a cult, and that while that was horrible, now that she's outside of it, there is also an apocalyptic event happening, and she has to figure out who she is both inside and outside of the cult. I wanted to love this one, but it was very, very religious heavy, and that's fine. I do enjoy those sorts of books, but I wanted it to be a little different. So that's just a personal feeling with me. It was written very well, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The 5th book that I read this month was A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. I loved this book. This is my favorite book of the month, and I already did a review on it, so I will link that both in the card as well as down below. But the story is about sirens in a, parallel universe that's almost exactly like ours, except for magical creatures abound, and sirens are hated and hunted. And it's such a good story. It's about a siren who is trying to keep the fact that she's a siren a secret, as well as, trying to keep her life together after some huge cultural impact things are happening that are paralleled with the Black Lives Matter movement. Highly recommend. Again, I'll link it up there and down below. Now, if you haven't noticed, most of the books that I've talked about on my channel are ebooks. And the reason for this is obviously has to do with the pandemic, as well as the fact that I'm trying not to be so focused on the consumerism of BookTube. I really just want to read, and purchasing all of these books in physical form, it gets very expensive. But I'm still working through my TBR list of books that are on my shelf. I will be doing a video about that in the future, but one of the books on this list was Scavenged the Stars by Tara Sim. I already did a review of this one as well, linked above and below, and I enjoyed it. It is a gender-bent retelling of The Count of Monte Cristo. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Ooh. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. And even though it wasn't my favorite, I still appreciated it because it was a retelling of The Count of Monte Cristo, and I think that it was just a fun book, and I will be reading the sequel. Next up is The Kinder Poison by Natalie May, and I just did a review on this one as well, linked above and below, and I really enjoyed this one. It's a death-defying race across the desert. There's, you know, magic, human sacrifice, a girl with the ability to talk to animals, a girl who can transform into animals, and it's just a really intriguing concept, and I enjoyed it. I will be reading the sequel. It ended on a cliffhanger. I'm still a little butthurt about that because it was good, and I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. The final 10 books that I read this month, I have separated them into a category all their own because I don't feel it's fair to compare other books to it right now, because this is my favorite series of all time. I never either listen to it or read this series critically because this is my just go-to favorite. And that is the Indepth Series by J.D. Robb, aka Nora Roberts. And this series is about a homicide detective named Eve Dallas in the year 2057. That's when the series starts. And it follows her journey through several different cases throughout the series, of course. New cases every book. And Eve in the beginning is all about her job. And then she starts to collect these people in her life that start to matter to her. And she ends up falling in love, marrying the man of her dreams, gaining a partner and at work, and just, I could rave about this series forever. I'm gonna shut up now before I do that. I never rate these ones, but highly, highly, highly recommend the Indepth Series by J.D. Robb, so there you go. That is it for the books that I read in the month of June. I hope you guys enjoyed my little reading wrap-up. If you want to, you know, see more, subscribe to my channel. I post every Wednesday and Friday. And if you want sneak peeks into the books that I'm reading, follow me on Goodreads and Instagram. So I will see you guys in my next video, but before I close out, I want to hear from you. Have you read any of the books that I've listed, and what did you think? Bye!